In order to make this transformation and gain muscle fast, you gotta eat big, but a lot of skinny guys struggle to do that. How do you eat big in order to grow muscle fast? It's very, very simple actually. If you can focus and lock in on a couple of key eating strategies, you can make your calorie intake effortless. In this video, I'm gonna share with you exactly how to implement the strategies so that you can eat big and see gains fast. So first off, let me just tell you this story about a piece of broccoli that I had at the steak place the other day when I was eating my dinner with my mom who came to visit me. And so basically, I ordered just one plate of food just to be like civil. I'm not gonna like hose down like a bunch of food as if I was eating by myself. I'm eating with like my mom. I think her friend was there too. So I'm just gonna eat like a civilized person, eat one plate. And I remember just sitting there and like we were like talking about stuff. We were talking about the buildings, the location, all that stuff. They're asking me questions, whatever. And I remember like starting off with the piece of broccoli. They serve the food with vegetables and bread as well here. And I remember I was eating this broccoli like very slowly. I think I cut it into like 3 pieces and I was just eating it and like talking with them and eating it and talking with them. And actually it was funny enough, like by the time I finished that broccoli, I actually felt like 30% full, which is crazy because usually I can eat 2 to 3 full plates of like steak, fries, bread, and vegetables. Taking that one plate of steak, fries, bread, and vegetables, I took 1 piece of broccoli and after finishing that broccoli, I felt 30% full. And that's exactly how a lot of you guys are eating. And that's a big mistake. You see, when you're eating to get big, to gain mass, to gain muscle, you gotta eat fast. You gotta eat like it's part of your mission, like it's part of your job, because it really is. That's exactly where you're getting the surplus from. And a lot of guys, they just don't do it. Like when they're eating, they just take one bite, then they're talking with their friends, they're socializing, they're distracted, they're on their computer, they're on their phone. They're doing something else, just like I was with my mom and her friend. I was distracted, I was talking with them, and I wasn't eating like how I usually do when I'm just like focused by myself. And so basically you want to eat with pace. You want to eat in like a mission-oriented manner. Like I'm eating this to get big. I'm eating this to fuel myself, to sustain growth. If you do that, it's a night and day difference between when you're just eating passively, when you're doing it, planning to do other things while eating, planning to do stuff on your computer, planning to talk with your parents, your friends. It's cool. People do that stuff. I'm not hating against it, but if you're trying to eat for growth and you're struggling to do that, this is one of the key strategies that you can use to actually see big growth. And it's a really bad habit I see a lot of skinny guys struggle with. I'm telling you, when you eat fast and you focus on your food, it's a night and day difference between how much food you can eat. All right, next up, a lot of skinny guys don't know how to use their appetite to their advantage. So a lot of people think they have heart gainer metabolism, that they're permanently skinny because basically they eat whenever they're hungry. They eat as much as they can when they're hungry until they're full. And then because they don't gain weight, they think that they're stuck as being skinny. They have heart gainer genetics. What you have to understand is that always eating limits the amount of food that your stomach can take. It limits your appetite. Most people don't truly realize the full potential of their stomach, the full potential of their appetite, because they're constantly eating. They eat three plus meals a day. They're eating tons of snacks in between, and their body's just basically constantly digesting. If you allow yourself to go hungry for a long period of time, then when you experience real hunger, when it's time to eat, it is so effortless to eat 2-3 times the regular portion, especially if you implement this with the first strategy I just gave you. You can even eat more, 4 times, 5 times. That's when you get into like OMAD territory, 1 meal a day. I'm not saying go that extreme, but my point is that when you use your appetite to your advantage, instead of, constantly snacking, constantly putting food in your mouth, allow yourself to wait a little bit, experience the real hunger, and then you can effortlessly eat a lot of food in one sitting. A lot of people might think, isn't this bad for you? It's actually really, really good for you as well. It's a double win because, believe it or not, your body isn't constantly always meant to be digesting. If you allow yourself to not eat for a long period of time, your body has so much processes that are really, really good for you. The problem is most people don't ever get to the point of realizing this because they always are eating every time they feel a little bit of hunger. That hunger is a survival instinct from times when food was in an uncertainty. You never knew when your next meal was coming. It's not an optimal way to be eating for muscle growth, for definition, or for fitness in general. All right, the last trick is a mental trick, but it might be even stronger than the other two. A lot of people, when we're so used to the way that we're eating, It's very difficult to change the way in which we eat. That's why a lot of fat people stay fat. That's why a lot of skinny guys stay skinny. But when you look at food and you're looking at a plate of food, like for example, let's go back to that steak example. Hopefully I have a picture on the screen. A lot of guys are gonna look at this and they're gonna be like, wow, that's a lot of food. There's like 4 different things on the plate. And you know, that's gonna be how many bites of steak, and then I have to eat, you know, this carrot, this broccoli. That's probably like 25 French fries, 20 French fries, I don't know. And they're mentally looking at it. It's like a lot of food. It's a lot of bites of food. You want to look at food, not in terms of, you know, how much it is to finish one piece of food, but you want to look at it in terms of mouthfuls, in terms of large pieces, large chunks. Funny enough, I'm actually really good at this when I'm drunk, but basically when I'm really, really hungry, I look at food as like whole plates almost, or like large chunks of plates. Like I'll look at a plate of rice and chicken, I'll be like, okay, that's about, you know, 2 minutes worth of food. Like that's about 3 solid mouthfuls. Like I'll go boom, 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 boom. Like just like eat that, and then the plate is done in that amount of time. A lot of people look at a whole plate of food, even if they're hungry, and they go very slowly because they're only looking at a small portion size at a time. It's basically to wrap this, to sum this point up, it's you gotta think big. You gotta think big to eat big. A lot of guys are too used to thinking small. They might slowly take 1 carrot, just like I was saying in the first example. Slowly take, you know, 1 piece of steak. For me, I take the whole steak and I'm like, 3, done. Obviously, I'm not bulking anymore, so maybe I'll enjoy it a bit more. But that's just an example for if I was bulking up, like I would eat it like that. But basically, when you look at food, you gotta think of it in like mouthfuls and platefuls or mouthfuls instead of just, you know, small individual bites. It really does make a huge difference. I'll probably make a video about this in the future of me actually eating food when I'm hungry. I'll show you exactly how I look at it and how I eat it, and you'll understand it much better. It's like, you know, I'm literally taking like the whole piece of chicken and eating it in like 2 seconds because I'm just thinking about the whole chicken. I'm not thinking about, you know, the individual bites. That's the kind of mentality I had when I was bulking. That's why I was able to eat really, really effortlessly towards food. Another way to really, really drive this home is, a lot of you might be able to relate. If you ever have 2 water bottles, or if you have like a refillable water bottle at home, for example, right? How much more water do you drink out of the full water bottle than you do out of like the water bottle that's nearly empty? You drink so much more water out of this water bottle, right? Because it's full, you're just like, wow, there's so much. I'm just gonna drink it. I'm just gonna keep drinking it. You know, there's like so much, I'm never gonna run out. And you know, there's an abundance of water and it's cool and refreshing, and let's just go for it. Whereas when it's like low, this isn't that low, but I just found it, use it as a prop, right? Bear with me. When it's low, it's like, okay, now it's like, okay, it's only a little bit left, only a little bit left, only a little bit left. Because you're only fixated on a small amount, you're like, okay, like subconsciously you're thinking, let's savor it, or let's save it for later. You know, this is the only amount we're focused on, right? Basically, we're only focused on this amount. So in our mind, mentally, subconsciously, that's how much we're drinking in accordance with how much we're focusing on. So because there's only a little bit of water left, that's why the end of the water bottle takes so long to finish. In the same sense, that's why a lot of people mentally can't change the way they look at food. They see only small bites, and so they're fixated on small bites, so they're only going to eat a small amount of food. It's the same thing why a lot of people, you know, they leave 1 bite of food at the end, or they leave a little piece of their hamburger or something like that. You know what I mean? No matter how big the hamburger, they always leave that little piece because they start fixating on the smaller and smaller and smaller piece until it's only that little bit. And so a lot of people just limit themselves because they're focusing on small bites of food. Obviously, we're talking about the end of the plate now, but the example still stands, but it carries over to the whole plate as well. When you're fixating on a small amount of food, you're only going to eat small amounts of food. That's the point I'm trying to make. I hope that makes sense. I just visualized it because I know more people can relate to this example. Anyways, guys, those are my 3 tips for how to eat fast, how to eat big to gain muscle fast. So I hope you guys gained some value from this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Be sure to check out my free checklist, my muscle building guide. A lot of people make a lot of very simple but detrimental mistakes. Make sure you're not making any of those mistakes, and make sure you're doing all the fundamentals correct. So if you're looking to bulk up and build muscle, be sure to go and grab that free checklist in the description below. But with that being said, guys, like the video if you did, Subscribe to stick around for more content just like this. Help skinny guys build muscle, gain weight, and get jacked. So if that sounds of interest to you, be sure to subscribe to the channel. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.